Hello angels! Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. We'll be going over my no filter, just face, flawless foundation routine. This base routine is something that I've been perfecting over the last 4 years, and honestly, she does me justice every time. This exact face routine has lasted over 12 hours in Arizona heat in the dead of summer. If I ever have a high definition like photo shoot, or I just know I'm gonna be on camera, this is the routine that I use. I'm going to the club, I walk in and I walk out looking the same way. I'm not scared of them lights getting turned on, baby. I thought that now would be the perfect time to share all my tips, my products, my techniques that I use in order to get this face. Now, if you have the goal of perfecting your makeup routine in 2025, or you just want to brush up on your makeup knowledge, keep on watching. All of my products will be linked in my Shop My Store storefront, as well as on my website, thevenetianedit.com, where there will be a dedicated blog post to all of the things that I mentioned in this video. So if you don't want to go through the entire video again, then you just have a simple place to find everything. I hope you're ready. Get a snack because I will be yapping. Alright everyone, let's get started with prepping our skin for our base. In order to have a base that is smooth as well as long lasting, it's very important for your skin to be balanced in terms of oil, hydration, things like that. So for me, I personally have normal to combination skin with like an oilier T-zone, but my main focus is making sure that my skin is hydrated. I always start out with a toner, the Good Molecules Niacinamide Brightening Toner. No muss, no fuss. I just look far more hydrated and supple just from the addition of one product. If your skin is still not feeling properly moisturized after just adding the toner, you can opt to add a serum as well. This one is the Ordinary's Hyaluronic Acid Serum. It's just a simple, inexpensive hydrating serum that you can add underneath your moisturizer or SPF, just to add that extra layer of hydration if your skin needs it. I've done looks with it, looks without it, and they've come out fine both ways, but this is again very based on you, your preferences, and how your skin feels. Next, I would follow up by using a moisturizer or an SPF. If I'm doing my makeup during the day, I'll go in with an SPF. My favorite ones to use for this is the Naturium Dew Glow Moisturizer. It is a perfect, lovely emollient moisturizer with SPF 50. Stunning, gorgeous, and amazing. And I really have been liking the Isntree Hyaluronic Daily Sun Gel as well. This one only has SPF 30, but it layers very well underneath makeup. I'm not going to be in contact with the sun at all. I'm gonna just go in with a plain moisturizer. The one that I absolutely am in love with using underneath my makeup is also from The Ordinary. This is the Natural Moisturizing Factors with Phytoceramides. This is, I don't even know how many tubes of this I've gone through. A stunning, stunning, stunning moisturizer. Yeah, this is actually year 2 of me using this moisturizer. You don't need a lot. I just take a little bit on the back of my hand and add it to my face. I feel like products glide on so well when I add this product, and it really keeps my skin feeling moisturized throughout the day. If you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it. Look at how my skin is just like, oh my goodness. Literally, if you get anything from this skin prep routine, make it be that moisturizer. The overall goal that I have, and that I think you guys should also have when it comes to doing a complexion routine, is to create facial harmony. So now is the time to take a look at some of the things that you want to correct. For me personally, that would be the hyperpigmentation that I have right here, as well as the dark circles that I have underneath my eyes. And a way to alleviate that without just putting straight concealer on is to add a color corrector. Adding an orange color corrector underneath your eyes and on any places of hyperpigmentation is going to counteract the bluish purple hues. And it also adds another layer of coverage for when you finally do get to the concealer step and you have to, you know, add those tones back to your face. Favorite ones that I absolutely adore is from Milani. This is called the Conceal and Perfect Under Eye Brightener. I use the shade 3 Pumpkin, and I think it's the perfect color for me. At first I was using like pure orange color correctors and would have to really load up on concealer and things like that to counteract placing that dark orange color. Whereas this one, since it has a peachy undertone, not only is it color correcting, but it is closer to my skin tone, so I'm not doing extra work it comes to adding my concealer on top. Like, it just looks like it's balancing the rest of my facial features out, if that makes sense. You don't want to go overboard with this product because we are letting it sit, so it's going to add extra coverage in that way. Every single time you add anything, you want to add less than what you think. You can always add more after, but it's harder to take product away. So start off with just, see, even that's too much. I'm going to take that and I'm going to use that all over. I'm going to use this here. I'm going to swipe across my nose as well. Now, when it comes to application of cream products, if you want to have a lighter touch, go ahead and use maybe like your ring finger, because this is the finger that has the lightest touch. So I'm going to take my ring finger, I'm going to concentrate the product where that darkness is underneath my eye, and then blend outwards once I feel like there's a concentrated enough amount of product there that will counteract the dark circles. Process here. I'm actually going to take some off and wipe it on the back of my hand because, again, less is more, and I can always add more later if necessary. See, we're already creating some facial harmony just by counteracting those dark circles. Next up, I'm going to do my primer. Lately, I have been absolutely enamored and obsessed with the NYX Face Glue Primer. Not only is it providing a smooth base, but it also is really great for the longevity of my makeup as well. I actually had to attend a workout class and did not have time to remove my makeup. And I got through an entire class in which I burned like 700 calories and my face didn't move an inch. Go ahead and get that primer. Well, again, I just apply this on the back of my hand. I use maybe about this much. So what is that? Like a little less than a nickel size. Oh my god, what if you guys aren't American? Just use the visual and the visual cue. Spread that all over my face. Now, one thing I will say, if you have SPF on, let that SPF sit on your face for at least 10-15 minutes so it can truly absorb into the skin. Because when it comes to adding a primer of any kind, not even just this one, on top of your SPF, you don't want it to, one, limit the amount of protection that your skin is getting, and two, you don't want to disturb the product because it tends to like mix together weird like on your skin and starts to lift up the SPF. I wanted to bring you guys a little bit closer while we get into applying all of our cream and liquid products. When it comes to complexion products, one thing about me, I don't play. Okay, I'm using the best of the best, and that's something that I will invest my money on. Unfortunately, for my deeper skin girlies, sometimes we do have to invest more than our lighter skin counterparts because brands simply just don't care to cater to us. I mean, I know that we've made some better strides in recent times, but we could be doing better. My favorite foundations all are high-end. Not saying that it is impossible for you to find a good foundation in the drugstore, but all of the recommendations that I do have for you are at least $30. So if it is something that you're going to splurge on, I'd make it a foundation. The foundation that I'm going to be using today is my tried and true. This is the Haus Labs Triclone Skin Tech Foundation. I am in the shade 425 Medium Deep Neutral. I always reach for this when I know that I'm going to be photographed. I reach for this when I am going somewhere that's a little bit more important, or I just want to look extremely put together. I feel like this is literally like doll skin in a bottle. I just know that, like, Gaga, you not only gave us Bad Romance, Telephone, and just all of your amazing musical contributions, but you've also given us this? Jesus, what a woman. I always pump out on the back of my hand. Like, can we talk about the shade match? Be for real. Be for real. Honestly think that regardless of your skin type, this would be good. I feel like it's just a perfect satin, like in between. It's not too dewy where you look shiny boots, and it's not matte to the point where you feel like you've literally been like dry. It's just the perfect texture, and it has an amazing stunning finish. It's buildable. I can honestly not say enough good things about this foundation. And when it comes to blending this out, you can use a sponge if you want to lighten up on the coverage, or you can use a brush if you want to keep your coverage and blend it out that way. I tend to be a brush girly regardless of the product that I'm using. I like using a dense foundation brush. This is the Morphe M39 brush. So dense that it's not lifting up product, and it's keeping product exactly where I want it placed instead of sweeping it around the skin. And I just like to concentrate my placement in one area, and then I'll move. Starting in the middle and then blending outwards and upwards. I like doing my brows towards the end because I like taking my foundation and getting it into where my brows are, just so I can have a seamless canvas to start off with. Now at this point, this is me just making sure that there's no product buildup and everything has been absorbed into my skin well, and I'm taking any excess product and again putting it down my neck, on my ears, in any places that aren't my face but are still going to be visible. Next up, I'm going to start mapping out my face for my contour and highlight. This is where creating the facial harmony really comes into play, and one thing that has taught me so much when it comes to the values of my face, which is the highlights and the shadows, is when I took an art class in my senior year of college. And I honestly feel like that's what changed the game for my product application. Now, one thing that you can do is put a photo of yourself. If you have like a MacBook, go ahead and use that thermal camera, the one that's like blue, green, yellow, red. Use that, take a photo of yourself, and it'll literally show you where to place your product. That red on the inside is the highlights of my face, and then the green is where I want to apply the contours. The yellow and orange in between is where I'm going to be blending. It's literally a game changer when it comes to understanding your facial shape and where you can add your highlights and contours to balance your face out the best. Personally, I always start out with adding my highlights first. This is something that I want to sit on my skin a little bit longer. I am absolutely in love with the Too Faced Born This Way, to the point that you don't even see it on the product anymore. It's a full coverage concealer and it does everything that I needed to do. Under my eyes first. We've given up the triangles in 2016, sisters. You're wasting product. Don't do it. Mirror that on the other side. It's going to be specific to your face shape and what it is that you're trying to highlight and the things that you're trying to maybe balance out in whatever way that's necessary for you. But regardless of your face shape, if you have darker circles, go ahead and concentrate this product right where that darkness is on top of your color corrector. If you have a wider nose, hello to my ethnic sisters. If you have a wider nose, go ahead, don't apply your concealer all the way down here. It's just going to take away from the structure that you're trying to build. And I call this kind of like a reverse contour. So yeah, I just put highlight right in the middle there. I'll also put it in the center of my forehead, like that. And then I put it right here on my chin. Sometimes I like to take a little bit of concealer as well and just add it right here for a little Bella Hadid slay, but it's not 100% necessary unless you're trying to lift this area. In with my bronzer, I'm not a contour girl. I have a very round face, not a very round face, but I don't really have angularity to my face to begin with, so I don't want to add unnecessary shadows to my face, but I do like bringing warmth and dimension to my face, which is why I like going for a warmer toned, darker shade around the perimeter of my face just to add some more color back in, because we are 3D creatures and we need to add dimension. I'm using the Dior Forever Skin Correct Concealer for I don't even know how long now as a bronzer, utilizing the same coloring that the filter recommended for me. I like to apply it right here above my arch of my eyebrow. I'll also apply it slightly above where my cheekbone sits. So if I sucked in my cheeks like this, my bone is over here. I apply it under the top of your finger, just above. And I'll do maybe about that much, because this is a concealer and it spreads easily. You don't actually have to carve out where you want this placement to be. You just want to put kind of like an indicator of how low you want this to go. On this side. I'm going to start off by blending out my contour, bronzer, whatever you want to call it. For this, I love using a couple of different kinds of brushes for this actually. Sometimes I'll go in with a paddle foundation brush like this. I really love the Fenty Beauty bronzer brush. This is the number 195. I love this one. Or I'll use the e.l.f. blush brush. It is, you know, literally for blush, but just because a brush says that it's for a certain purpose does not mean that you have to only solely use it for that purpose. So for today, I'll use this one. I just love brushes that have, I don't even know what shape I could call this. They're rounded at the top, but they have a little bit of width to it. I don't know. It picks up product well because of the synthetic bristles. I'm gonna take the brush, and as I start, I'm gonna start off by tapping in place and stippling this closer to the hairline. Then I'm gonna start moving my hand downwards. I don't want my product to go past the center of my eye as I'm looking forward. Have enough so you can understand where the placement is, but it's not necessary for you to go overboard with your cream product when it comes to your contour. Blending into the hairline for seamlessness. If you are wearing a wig, my sisters, I know that it's controversial to put makeup in your lace, but when it comes to the corners of my face, I'm gonna add just a tiny bit. Not too much to where it looks nasty, but I'm just gonna add a tiny bit because if it's if the color of my lace is supposed to be the color of my scalp and the color of my skin, I want it to be the color of my skin. So if I have dark brown right here and then a medium brown on my lace, why am I doing that? Amen, to each your own. Do what you want to do. I also love blending my contour into my brow from arch upwards, so I can again achieve that facial harmony and not have any lines of demarcation when it comes to adding my product. Stamping upwards, I think that's the best way that I can describe this brush motion, stamping. So I am staying still for a while, and then I'm stippling upwards. This is how you should be moving your brush. A little fast. Like this. On your skin. So that's what you should be doing. Again, we're starting by moving upwards towards the hairline, and then we're going to blend downwards once we have more control, not only of the brush, but the product is starting to, you know, blend out and create its own little shadow there. We do not want to be blending downwards by any means. There's no reason for you to be dragging your brush on your face. We are stippling. We are constantly moving the brush. Alright, so this is what we're looking like with our contour blended out. Keep this brush nearby because you're gonna need it, okay? That's it. To blend out our highlight. Now, being that my under eye is where I want the most coverage, that means that's the last thing that I will be blending, or amongst the last areas that I will be blending. I love using a powder puff to blend out my liquid concealer. You can also use a sponge if you want to lighten up your coverage a bit. You can use a brush if you want to add to your coverage. I feel like the puff is the perfect in between. I always start off on my chin for some reason. There's no rhyme or reason, I just do. And again, I'm using that same motion where I'm patting in the center first, and then once it's time for me to disperse the placement of my product, I just start moving my sponge around with very concentrated, tiny movements. I'm gonna stay in place where I actually applied the product, and then as I go upwards, I'll be moving a little bit quicker as I blend into the contour. Now this is where you want to keep that brush that we used for the contour nearby. Can you reinforce the placement of your bronzer, but you can also aid in the blending of your contour in your highlight area. This is the center of my face, and I feel like this is what makes or breaks my sculpt. I take my sculpt very seriously. I'm gonna start off by just doing the part that I care about the least, which is this little part over here. I just do this for a little bit of an added cunt factor. Added little diva slay. Like, I'm not doing this for any legitimate rhyme or reason in terms of my personal facial harmony. The make or break moment, guys. It's serious business. Going to do, this is what I call my reverse contour method, because I don't do a full-on nose contour because I just don't think that it's flattering for my nose shape. And plus, black power. Like, I'm not trying to have no Eurocentric looking nose, baby. I just want to add angularity to my otherwise not angular at all face. So I'm gonna go down the center of my nose with the absolute tip of this powder puff, and I don't really want to manipulate the placement, so I'm making very, very subtle movements. Ugh, yeah, that's the stuff. Concentrated movement. I am going to start off by tapping exactly where I place my product, and I'm not going to begin blending outwards to cover up this rest of this region until I'm at a place where I believe that the coverage under my eyes is acceptable for me to move forward. I don't know how to explain that any other way. I hope that this visual cue will assist in explaining, because you just know. Keep your eyes peeled, siblings. Let's go. I'm gonna start right here. I like taking it up the side of my nose because, again, I'm reinforcing that reverse contour. And again, my under eye darkness really is concentrated in this inner region here, so I don't want to mess with that or manipulate that in any way. So I'm literally just sitting here, just like this, tapping in the same place over and over again so the product can sink into the skin a little bit more. Just because I haven't made any actual like sweeping movement does not mean that the product hasn't, you know, made its place here. Unblended versus what it looks like a little bit blended, there's a difference. So go ahead, continue placing that product right there on the inside, and then honestly it feels super blended already, but I don't know if y'all can see, but there's still like a little bit of a space that doesn't have any product. Whatever's left on your sponge is what you can use. And drag that upwards. And there you go. Whatever is left over on my sponge, I also like to put on my eyelid because I do have some discoloration there as well. And I'll put it all the way up to the arch of my brow. I like to leave this space empty because I do want to add some dimension there. I don't want this to be a flat looking space. And I'm going to continue just pressing in the same spot, bringing it a little bit to the side of my nose, but still concentrating that right where my hyperpigmentation is. Look upwards, make sure that you are blending and not leaving any creases either. And you're really making sure that you're adding coverage to the full under eye area and not just, you know, placing product down and making it look crazy. It looks a little stripy, so I'm going to go and soften this line out a little bit, and then I just go back and forth to all the places that I blended and just making it look more harmonious, symmetrical. And you see how we made like a reverse contour because of that. Because I don't have a nose bridge and widens out at the end, I like to take a tiny bit of that contour concealer that we used, fluffy blender brush. I will take this. I don't make a full-on stripe, I just like blending this into the brow area, down the sides of my nose, just so ever so slightly. And honestly, I don't even really want a lot of pigment here. This is more of just a marker for myself for when I'm doing my brows. And I also like to take it through the brow, connect it up to where the contour is. So this is what we look like, just cream products applied. Don't have any creasing underneath our eyes. Now if you have eyes that crease very easily, you want to make sure you're working quick, okay? Also going in, not all the time, but sometimes with a slightly lighter concealer. Again, focusing this just in the absolute inner part. I'm not gonna do the whole little Bella Hadid slay. I'm gonna go with the tiniest, absolute tiniest lines. Again, I'm just gonna concentrate this. Now on this one, I'll do my under eyes first. I don't know why, I just do. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But I just like putting that right here. Just so I can have people's eyes come here first when they're looking at my face. Now this one, I don't bring past like here. So let's say my pupil is here. I don't bring it past this little triangle right here. It's not going. This is only supposed to stay in the absolute center and add some illusion in that way. Absolute tip of the puff. I like only putting this in the center. I don't really like bringing it all the way up the nose. And then this, I just added for fluidity purposes, for lack of a better term. Like, I don't want everything else to be, you know, medium when the absolute lightest value has also been added. I just want the values to exist at different parts of my face. Well, if that's not a sculpt, then what is, sister? And again, we can always just go in with our other brushes. And if you think anything has been lost in the sauce, go ahead and reinforce that coloring, whether it's your bronzer, nose contour. If you think that you're losing some of your highlight, go back in with the puff. It still has product on it. If you're in an emergency and you had to run out of the house and you are not accepting of what your face looks like before powder, then you haven't blended enough. Blend out to a point that if you literally just like put your face out in the world like this, you'd be fine. I'd be fine. So let's go in with our powders. Thing that you have done a cream step with, you need to make sure that you're reinforcing that with a powder, whether it's a loose powder or a pressed powder. You need to set your face. Powder is the One Size translucent setting powder. They have multiple colors, but I just get the regular old translucent. I feel like she does an amazing job at blurring and giving me the coverage necessary, and it keeps my makeup in place all day. And with my powder puff, go over everything that I set down to ensure that I am crease free, that there is no lines of demarcation. Just putting some of the product into the cap. I'm gonna take a powder puff, press into the powder, and then any excess I'm gonna put on the back of my hand. Again, less is more. You can always add more later. Yeah, it's harder to take things away. You wanna follow the same patterning of the concealer, the light concealer that you put down. You can look up, make sure that you're getting in there for real. Down the absolute center of my nose, onto my forehead, and I like to put the tiniest bit, whatever's just left over on the powder puff, onto my eyelids. And if you're an oily gal, make sure you put some into your brows too. Whatever is left over that was on the back of my hand, and I'll put that down here where my smile lines are, because I have the gift of gab and I love saying cheese. I love this powder because it truly is a translucent powder. It don't make me look ashy or nothing. Eyes, my brows, all that off camera. It is time to reinforce all of the cream steps that we did earlier and put powders on top of them. This is to add more coverage, sure, but to also increase the longevity of your makeup. And I just like putting on my blush during my powder steps. Why? I don't know. Now, my absolute favorite of all time blush at the moment is the REM Beauty Lip and Cheek Stick in Audition. And it's a really yummy buildable formula. So I wear this on my no makeup days. I wear this on my full glam days. I just love this product so much. And the brush that I like to use to blend this out is the Real Techniques setting brush. I just love this blush color because I think it's the perfect neutral pink. It's not too bright in your face, but it still gives off that like nice baby doll vibe. And it's not ashy. Brands, you can make a light neutral pink that is pigmented and not ashy. Now, the way that I blend my blush out is similar to how I blend all of my complexion products out. I like to start concentrated in one area, and then I start dragging it up the cheek. I'm applying my blush above my contour, and I'm applying it going upwards. I don't drag my blush out and down because, again, we don't want any of our cheek products to go past our eye pupils. So I like blending upwards because that is going to add more lift, and it just is more harmonious with the shape of my face. It's really important for you to be intentional with your blush placement and how you're blending it out, because I feel like it can make or break the balance of your face. This is the REM Beauty bronzer. It is a satin matte formula. I use the color Coconut, and I just use the basic e.l.f. bronzing brush. I grabbed some of the product, and this is super pigmented, so make sure you're tapping that excess off. And everywhere that we applied our bronzer earlier, anything dark, we're just going to reinforce that color by adding this on top. I like blending it into my brow. You can always add more brow pencil after, just so everything looks seamless. I'm gonna go underneath that blush and just sweep that in. I always sweep upwards because we are trying to lift the face, not drag the face down. So I am sweeping upwards towards my hairline, blending into my brow, stamping it around my hairline, trying not to disturb my lace too much. But if you do not have any lace to worry about, go ahead, get in there. Okay, I also like this little rainbow here to connect the two sides so it doesn't just look like I have two bricks of dark brown. And I'm gonna go in with my blush. My favorite blush ever is Tore Up, okay? This is the Juvia's Place Saharan Blush Volume 2 palette. My favorites are obviously, well, not this one fell out. These two are my favorite. I don't know if they make this blush palette anymore. I never see it in the store. I know that now Juvia's Place does the little like blush duos. The one that I like is the Volume 5 because it has these cute little peachy and baby pink colors, which I like. But honestly, if we're being so for real, I use these and I usually just mix the two. And we're just gonna I use the same brush. I don't care. Tap right on top. Now with Juvia's Place, a little goes the longest of ways. You give Juvia an inch, she's going 30 miles and running an entire marathon in the opposite direction. So you need to be careful with these blushes and be very intentional with your placement. Sometimes I like to go into like the absolute edge of my brow, kind of get a little bit, marry this region of my face. I'm going to go ahead and add some extra coverage under my eyes and my highlighted portions of my face by using a lighter pressed powder. This is the Fit Me Maybelline powder, the matte and poreless powder, and I'll just take a powder puff, get it in there, pat off the excess on the back of my hand, and I'm gonna go in everywhere that I put the highlighter and the translucent powder from earlier. So that would be on my chin. This just adds an extra layer of coverage. Oh no, it's just so I feel like it really just brings a full glam look together. If it was just a regular day and I'm doing like a simple makeup look, I usually don't do this, but that added little bit of coverage is just everything when you're doing full glam makeup. The thing about looking like a filter, you're really packing that makeup on, but it's the technique in which you do it that takes it from potential cakiness to absolute divahood. Beyonce would never point at you in the crowd and say that you ain't no diva. You are the diva, sister. Period. Again, we always keep our brushes nearby because we need to go back and forth. The absolute tiniest bit of that bronzer on that fluffy brush that we used earlier for the cream. And I just want to go back right here at the start of my brow and where my nose bridge would begin if I had one. And again, I like putting it through the brow and marrying it into the bronzer that's up here on my forehead. The time where I start getting scared because I'm like, oh my god, do I look crazy? Start spraying your face down, sister. I also like misting in between steps if I feel like I went overboard with powder. There's nothing that a little mist won't fix. I like using the Morphe setting spray for this, but honestly using any sort of like hydrating setting spray is fine. This is the NYX Face Glue Spray. I love this stuff. Then you can take a puff once your skin is like 90% dry and just a little tappy poops if you feel like there's a specific place that just still looks like it's too much for you. Final step in the powders is to add a finishing powder. This is the Sephora Micro Smooth. It's beat up boots, but this is what it is. And I'll take the like literal largest brush in my collection. This is a Real Techniques blush brush. I would never use this for blush, but a huge brush like this. So if you see where those yellow lines are, that's where you want to put this finishing smoothing powder. Whatever powder you're using that's the same color as your skin is where you want that to be. Contour earth, and then I'll put it down here where my foundation is. This just helps your makeup last throughout the day, so you're not making everybody around you brown or whatever color you are. Think is like still too shiny, you can go ahead and just smooth this over. This is a large enough brush that it disperses product very well. Now you're going to follow up with your last bit of setting spray. If you guys are going out and you need this to be absolutely bulletproof, go in with the On Till Dawn. I'm sure you guys have seen this before. If not, this is an amazing mattifying setting spray that lasts all day. I literally lasted through, I want to say it was like 100-degree Arizona weather, and my makeup didn't move an inch. Freckles or beauty marks or anything that you want to highlight, I like using a brow pen for that. I have my little beauty mark right here on my cheek and in the middle of my brows that always get inundated by all of my product that I'm putting on there. So I just take a little brow pen and fill it in. And then I'll take my finger so it doesn't look too obvious and just tap on top of it while it's still wet. Thank you guys all so much for watching this video and making it all the way to the end. I know that with the introduction of TikTok, a lot of our attention spans have shortened, so if you watch me in 2x, it's okay. I don't feel any type of way. I would have done it too. But I hope you guys learned something new. I hope that you have a new tip in your arsenal that you can utilize for making your makeup look a little bit better this year. And at the end of the day, I really just appreciate you all for supporting me in my dream by supporting this channel. If you guys want to follow me elsewhere and just keep up with me, go ahead and follow me on TikTok, Instagram, whatever your heart fancies. I am the Venetian Edit on all platforms, and I will see you in the next video. Happy Venus Day.